Hey, it's Tpok, and we're back in Symphonic Rain. We left off last time with trying to get Torda to help us out with finding our partner. Even though we really just want her as our partner, but, you know. So, yeah. Guess it was no good, is what she said. Good work anyway. Torda lifted her head from the cafeteria table, sorry about that, and reached for her cup. I'd say it isn't. It's still hot. Daijoubu. Fine. And atsui. It's hot. See, I told you so, didn't I? I'm getting hot just by looking at it. It's not that cold in here, you know. You can't even handle hot stuff. By then it had probably cooled down just enough since Torda's smile returned as she brought the cup to her lips. You've liked that since you were a kid, haven't you? Torda seemed to really enjoy drinking her cup of hot chocolate. Who doesn't like hot chocolate? Because that's all Cioccolata caldo really was. On second thought, you probably couldn't even call it a beverage. Sure, you drank it at first, but in most cases you ended up spooning out the thickened residue and eating it. It's sweet and heavy on the stomach, and I don't think I could ever drink a full cup. I suppose it is winter, but then again, it doesn't really get that cold here. With those words, I was strongly reminded of my faraway hometown, just as I was when I read Ari's letters. The country was split in two by mountains. We were born on the north side, and we are currently living in the south. Climate and temperature were a bit different, and even in the same winter, it could be quite gentle here. She stirred that chocolate in her cup with a spoon, her delighted expression showing no sign of crumbling. Fine, just don't say it's hot anymore, okay? Okay, fine. It was good to end the topic in good humor. I spoke up again with the underlying intent of apologizing for today. Thanks for today. Torda tilted her cup and happily took another sip. Are you sure it's enough? I'm glad it came cheap though. I never really expected you to. That's not what I meant. Though in truth, it is kind of what I meant. But one thing puzzles me. Why did you only ask male students? It might have been a bit of an intrusive question, but I just couldn't suppress my curiosity. I figured one would normally focus on friends they could easily ask a favor of. If it's just that there are a lot of males among your close friends, then that's fine. I tried to sound frivolous, but if this was really were the case, I wouldn't be too happy about it. Finished with her hot chocolate, Torda placed the cup on the table and focused her attention on me. Because it bothered me? Another thing. The last boy she asked, she didn't even know her name. And some only realized who she was after she explained she was a fellow vocalist. Sorta. But that's only a third of the reason. There's my jealousy as your childhood friend, and my concern as your friend. Wasn't the last student someone you didn't even know? Oops. Could it be that you don't have any female friends? My severely impolite question didn't seem to register with Torda immediately. Apparently it required some time for it to sink in. Yeah, you're not like me, I know that.
自分で言わないの。
You were about to say it to me, weren't you?
それでもダメ。
Fine, fine. So, was there some reason you didn't ask them, or were they just not available today?
あのね、女の子とクリスを組ませるわけにはいかないでしょ。
Why not?
噂。
What you talked about this afternoon? I thought you didn't believe in it.
そりゃ信じてないけどさ。
Then why?
焼き餅が10分の1くらい。
That's not a lot.
それも幼馴染としてのだからね。
And what about the rest?
信じてなくても嫌なことってあるでしょ。
I don't really think there are.
そっかな。クリスって神様信じる？
Huh? That came out of the blue.
いいから。
So I think last time I said I don't. I'm gonna go with I do this time just to see. I suppose I do.
え？
No need to act so surprised. There's nothing strange about religion. You go to church from time to time too, don't you?
まあそうなんだけど、そういうのよりはもうちょっと突っ込んだ意味で。
I misunderstood?
実際に神様がいて、私たちに何かしてくれると思う？
I doubt that.
でしょ？ならクリスは神様はいないと思ってると言えない？
No, gods being objects of worship undoubtedly exist.
小難しいこと言って。そういうんじゃなくて、だからほらあれよあれ。
I won't know with just that.
じゃあ何か悪いことをしたら神様が天罰とかを実際に下すと思う？
Like I said, I don't think so.
でしょ？多分みんなクリスと同じ考えだと思う。でもさ、教会の壁にいたずら書きとか悪いことをしようと思う人ってほとんどいないと思わない？
I suppose.
それと同じ。いないと分かってても怖くてできない。つまり信じてなくてもできれば噂とは無縁な位置にいてほしいのよ。
It seemed a bit unreasonable to attribute that to 9/10 of the reason. And I wasn't even going to try to rationalize that far-fetched explanation just now. I kinda get it. What just happened? Oh. Yeah, I kinda understand what she's talking about. She just doesn't want to risk it because, well, she doesn't believe in it and Chris doesn't believe in it. Doesn't mean that the girl she's introducing him to doesn't believe it. And yeah, I think that's what it means, at least. Though I sort of see where you're coming from. That sure was a roundabout explanation.
クリスが予想しない答えを言うからでしょ？
You mean to your question about God?
うん。
She replied in a subdued tone. What's wrong?
もし神様がいるなら。
If he existed.
この世界で起こってる嫌なこと全部なくなるかもしれないのにって思っただけ。
What brought that on, all of a sudden?
クリスはそう思わない？
Someone just yelled. I suppose I do, but that's not going to happen.
わかってる。ならいいなって思っただけ。
That's not like you.
らしい？そうね。らしくないね。
In an apparent change of mood, Tortoise stood up and picked up the empty cup.
じゃあそろそろ帰ろう。
Yeah, let's. Well, the rain was no surprise. It seemed darker than usual outside. I'm home.
あ、おかえり。遅かったけど何かあったの？
I heard Forney reply from inside the room. Yeah, sort of. I just got a text saying my grandma is going to call. What does that mean? Oh. I may have to leave in a sec. Okay, yeah, sort of. I threw my bag in the room and dried my hair with the towel left at the front door.
また雨
As usual.
飽きないわね
You got that right. We exchanged small talks as I faced the sky through the window. I dumped the towel into the laundry basket and finally entered the room.
それでどうしてこんなに遅かったの
Tora was helping me find a partner.
へえそれで見つかった
I was hopeless. Our method of searching was kind of flawed.
探し方
Tora just forced her way into every other practice room to ask if the person inside would partner with me.
何それ押し入るって
She knocked on the soundproof doors, and if the people inside noticed, she barged in, just like that.
ということはトルタの案だね
Exactly. I take it you can imagine the result.
それはねでもさトルタらしいね
I suppose you could say that. While Tora was generally a level-headed individual, she seemed to be missing a few screws every so often. Although few and far between, Forney had met Tora a few times in the past. Although of course she had gained a more solid image of her due to me having talked about her a lot.
でもさクリスを思ってのことなんだから感謝しなくちゃね
I am. I wasn't sure how Forney felt about Tora exactly, but it was clear she liked her. She seemed to feel the same about Ari, who came up in our conversations about just as often.
それで他にはどんなことがあったの
Let's see. Miss Cordell told me to hurry up with my search as well.
これで知り合いほとんどに言われたってことになるね
Sure, but there aren't that many people I know.
ちょっとそれって言い訳のつも
That's the idea.
りもう情けない友達少ないって自分で言ってるようなもんじゃない
Yeah, I guess.
自覚なしか
I am, it's just I'm perfectly content with having a few friends.
情けないっていう自覚のことよ
Well, I'm satisfied with myself.
それが問題かもね
Forney rolled her eyes at me as usual and claimed the rest of my day. Going over my day with her like this has become something of a daily routine. Even though she didn't like going out, she still wanted to hear all about the outside world. After having lived together for almost 3 years, even I still didn't quite understand the elusive fairy-like being. She could physically touch things, but she couldn't get wet from the rain. She could continue singing without ever growing tired or needing to eat food. She could float in midair, but she could not fly. And she could disappear and reappear at will. However, despite her disregard for the laws of physics, she still required me to carry her to high places. Yet every day she would go out of her way to prepare a towel for me at the front door. In short, it was impossible to come up with any logical explanation for Forney's existence. As long as you accepted her for what she was a lot of fun to have around. A long time ago, enough for it to be mentioned in my history textbooks, magic was lost from this world. Before long it was replaced by science, which continued to develop for many years. Even so, this world was still full of inexplicable things. A cheerful fairy that was skilled at singing was simply one of the many. It was meaningless to even think about the physical boundaries of the world. Or so I believe nowadays. I proceeded to tell Forney about the rest of my day like I always did.
あんまり実りのない一日だったね
After having sat through the whole story, Forney didn't seem bored, but actually rather happy. And while she may have told me so, it looked like she really did enjoy hearing stories of the outside world. I guess. Anyway, I'm going to make dinner.
今日は何
Let's see what there is. I cooked myself a simple meal and the day soon ended. Entranced by the sound of the rain pattering against the window, I fell into slumber. Martetti. Well then I'm off.
はい
Well, she said okay, have fun. I glanced up at the gloomy sky, catching the raindrops with my body. Another day had begun. Yes, ma'am. Oh, am I playing? I think no, I'm not. I finished morning practice, as well as lunch. I would have to search for a partner again now. As I pondered such matters, Torda, who was still working on her lunch, shot me a question. Well, the same as yesterday, I guess. I know. I'll pass. Besides, isn't it Tuesday? It had become customary for Torta to leave early on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as she supposedly had things to take care of on those days. I didn't know what it was that she did, but I never asked. I didn't report everything about my private life to Torta either, after all. I was afraid of imposing on Torta even more than I already did. I realized this only yesterday, but it was undoubtedly the reason I could never get myself to ask. Hence, I picked my words carefully so as not to probe her too much. I'm fine. I can't bother you every day. With that, Torta stuffed the remains of her sandwich in her mouth and hurried off. I watched her disappear from sight and wondered what to do next. Well then, what shall I do now? Okay. I am going to go... not there. The practice room. I knew I had to search for a partner, but somehow I found myself coming to a practice room instead. I'm just following the walkthrough. Chris, I don't know. Rushing things wouldn't yield a positive outcome. I had to practice every once in a while. I'm gonna practice a piece, but I will not include it. So just a second. Okay, I'm back. I guess that's that. After a short while after I finished playing, silence returned to the room. It went pretty well today. I wouldn't have much to worry about at this rate. Suddenly recalled Miss Cordell's angry face and smiled to myself. Well then. I took the score and from the music stand and put it in my bag and left. The faint light breathing of the cloudy sky informed me that not much time had passed since noon. It was pretty common for me to head home around this time. But now I had this partner issue going on, so I could no longer afford to leave that early. I had a feeling that Miss Cordell would scold me if she caught me, so I hurried along in the direction of town. Oh, this is cool. After leaving the institute and walking for a few minutes, I came to the big street that split the town in two. The western district was now called New Town. The eastern district was called the Old Town. This street cut pretty much straight through the center of these two districts. My apartment was in the Old Town, where rent was cheap and where most of the ordinary citizens lived. The New Town, on the other hand, consisted of big mansions, built after the town was declared the city of music, for noblemen who moved here desiring prestige. I never had much to do with the New Town. I didn't know much else about it. After leaving the main street to the east, I arrived in the familiar terrain, the Old Town. The sounds of children playing their instruments flowed from the windows of the houses. At night, one would probably be able to hear the singing and cluttering of instruments and of drunken adults. I walked carefully to make sure my footsteps didn't resound too loudly on the stone pavement, as I concentrated my ears on the music flowing along with the rain. I'm home. I guess. I finished reporting my uneventful day to Forney. Afterward, I routinely made some dinner and then routinely fell asleep. Okay, I'm gonna end it here because I feel like this is a good stopping point before today starts. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.